So the next thing we'll do here is move into the institutional presentation. So I want to say something about the folks that were identified for presentation. So this is a little bit of art and science. So don't let any feathers get ruffled, and come talk to me if your feathers are ruffled. But this is a combination. What we looked at was folks who were in many categories of top improver. And in addition to kind of just the most areas of top improvement organized around completion and graduation rate, we were looking for a couple of things. We wanted some regional diversity, and we wanted some peer group diversity. So we wanted to make sure that all the small colleges saw a small college, and all the very large got a very large college. So we wanted to make sure that we have some of that diversity. So that's a little bit of the art in this. We also thought if folks gave a presentation last year, you'd really have to be killing it to be, again. So we wanted to have a mix of folks who you hadn't heard from last year, and kind of that blend of regional and peer group representation. So we gave you kind of the full list, and so you can see, hopefully you found your institution in one or more metric, and have those to look at. But wanted to hear from the next couple of institutions to talk a little bit about, this is going to be the panel really focused on completion improvement. And so we will have Mike Walker from Dallas County Community College District, Eastfield College, in just a moment come up. And you can see that the completion increases at Eastfield. They had a 27% increase in overall completions. 14% increase in African American completions, economically disadvantaged completions up 37%, and 58% for their Hispanic completions, as well as a 3-year graduation rate increase of 12 percentage points. So I'd like to welcome Mike to come up and share with us what's going on at Dallas County Eastfield, and please give him a big round of applause.
Well, thanks. I'm excited to have this opportunity to share with you some of the things that are going on at Eastfield. It's kind of amusing to me because there's a lot of things to cover, and I was told 2 slides and 5 minutes. So we're going to run through some things here fairly quickly, but it does bring me to one of the points that I'd like to begin with, and that is that there are for us, because we're a large college, but we have 50% of our population is Hispanic, 20% African American. So, in our opinion, when we do things, and we do have some directed initiatives, we do have a minority male initiative. We've got several of these kinds of things. But for us, in our way of thinking, when we're doing an initiative that goes after completion rates, we're thinking we're hitting all these categories. When we go after overall completion, we know that we're going to touch the Hispanic population and the African American population as well. So most of the things that I have to speak to right now really reaches out throughout the entire college. And the first thing that I want to mention, and I'm going on through these first 2 slides. Oh, it's me. I thought it was you. Very good. The first thing that I want to mention is that we, like most everybody in the room, we've got a strategic plan in place. But it was about 3 years ago when we decided that we were going to begin to focus really clearly on our completion objectives. And what we decided to do was that we needed to make sure that we had all hands on deck. We needed to make certain that everyone at the college, the administrators, the faculty, student services folks, everybody had a clear understanding that all of the work that we do, all of the work that everyone does on a daily basis has something to do with our strategic objective of creating a situation where we can have more student completions overall. So it's worth mentioning, I think, that it was top of mind for us to make sure that we begin to focus and be really intentional about that, as opposed to all of the other things that begin to consume our day, we want to make sure that everybody understands that it's all hands on deck when we're talking about how do we go about improving our completion rates for our students. And so all hands on deck, meaning all different categories. And we've got, and you're going to see up here, you're going to see things both large and small. Some of these things may not seem so significant. Some of these things are very significant changes to the college. But we're of the opinion that it is all of these things. It's paying attention to things both large and small that really lead us to the point where we have these kinds of significant change numbers, which we're so very excited about. It doesn't get any larger than at the top when the administration of the college decides we're going to move to an 8-week schedule, right? And we had some of our friends from Amarillo were helping us figure out how to do that, and other colleges as well. We have made the decision to do that. That really began about 3 years ago, it began to take shape over the past 3 years. We're not quite there yet, but we're up to about 60% of our schedule is 8-week. We're going to move forward. It's going to continue, but we are of the opinion that already we're going to start to see some of the benefits of moving to that schedule, where we can create a situation where our students are going to be able to move from part-time to full-time status. There are these kinds of benefits that come with moving into an 8-week schedule. So we've got things like that. We've got things like a culture of yes. This began about 3 years ago, when our then president said we have got to figure out ways to say yes to our students. If the answer really is no, we've got to be able to say, well, maybe we need to find another way. So a culture of yes might seem like a small thing, but it is a mental change in our outlook, in the way we interact with our students, and we're of the opinion that that sort of an attitude starts to be one of those things that begins to move the needle. Also, about 3 years ago is when my predecessor at the college, he got up in front of the faculty and he said, you know what, we need to do something as simple as learning our students' names. Things small like that, we believe, begin to have a significant impact. As we are a learning community college, we continue to have learning communities as part of our first-year experience. We need to make sure that our faculty have, and this is a bit misstated, honestly, I want to make sure that they understand that our completion numbers have everything in the world to do with them understanding that just course success is not enough. We need them to understand that we want their students to be successful. Now, we do want our faculty to understand that course success is critical, and we've moved into a world of dashboards so that and discipline reviews and things of that nature, where our faculty can actually look at how am I doing with regard to my students, and that's critical. We're pushing on with that, but we're also making sure that they understand that we need them to understand their piece of the bigger puzzle here. They're critically important to the overall student experience, and so it's an awareness that we're asking our faculty to all understand. And then finally, probably the area that has more things that are more tangible type things is in the area of student services, where we have done things such as invest heavily in our advisors. We've moved to a case management system, and the ratio between advisor to student has dropped from, this is incredible, isn't it? It's dropped from 1 to 800 to 1 to 600. That just sounds unimaginable that an advisor is going to have to deal with 600, but it's a significant change, and it starts to make a difference, we believe, and we're pushing ahead, trying to work in that area as well to get more advisors on hand, and that shows up again down where it says success coaches. Many of our advisors are taking on that role of success coach, where they become more actively engaged with our students, and so we've gone to that case management type of a style. I want to skip to the process mapping. I believe that to be really important in what we're doing, because what that says is we have an ongoing effort. We have a committee in place that routinely looks at the student experience, the process that the student has to go through, from enrollment through advising to financial aid to student engagement, all of those things were the touch points where we reach out to our students. We're mapping that, we're watching that, that. We're trying to make certain that we have streamlined that process and made that as easy as possible. And also, let me just quickly mention the guided pathways. We're not there yet. We're in the beginning stages of that, but that too is an initiative that began a couple of years ago, and so it's something that is starting to occur. And part of the excitement for us is many of these things that we are just getting started on are starting to move the needle. And so we have, I hope we're one of the colleges that's the exception to what she just said. I hope that next year the results are just so astounding that I get to stand up here again and speak to you all about that. But it really is exciting to us that we've got several of these kinds of things now in play, and we are very quickly beginning to see how this could potentially be a really significant needle mover in terms of student completion. Okay? Sure.
Thank you. That was wonderful to hear about, and I think the idea that, you know, in a lot of cases, I think you're not alone, Mike, that people are thinking about whole institution change, not just particular populations, but are we lifting all boats? So anyway, congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your insights on this. So next we're going to hear from Amber Lummis at, and I hope Lummis is right, but College of the Mainland Community College District. I want to highlight that their overall completions increased 29%. They did great work with their economically disadvantaged completions, up 30%, and their Hispanic completions up 60%. So please come on up. Amber, congratulations from College of the Mainland.
Thank you so much. College of the Mainland is a medium college in the Gulf Coast region, so I would thank you for the opportunity to share some of what we've been doing at our college. Kind of to echo what both of these guys have said, it's been across the institution cultural change over the last few years. So highlighting our overall completions, as well as our Hispanic completions, and our economically disadvantaged completions. When we started to look at the data behind this, you can see that it's not just one small thing or one big thing, but many small things across the institution that have contributed to these changes. So on the institution side, some of the things that we've done differently are incorporating our math pathways so that we identify the programs where students may not need algebra and make sure that they're aware that they have options to take something that's a non-algebra class. Our number of associates completers that took a non-algebra math have doubled within the last 3 years. We've also implemented our co-requisite developmental courses. So that started in fall 2017, and we decided not to do a pilot, so we did full-scale implementation of co-requisite courses for all of our developmental students. And so far, within the first year and a half, we've seen great improvements in the number of students who are successfully completing the gateway courses, usually in one semester, compared to the fewer students who were completing even within a year when they were starting in developmental. We've also redesigned our tutoring center, so we've moved it all into one central location instead of being spread out as it was before. We've been able to add some additional full-time professional tutors, and we've also started offering embedded tutors in some courses. Primarily, so far, it's been in our English co-requisite courses. We have been more intentional about our course scheduling. This started more as a reactive thing where we were just monitoring capacity, and when we were seeing that we were at 90% capacity in any course, we would add a section for it. But we're currently working to be more proactive, implementing software to be predictive about how many course sections we need for each course so that we can offer the right number of sections, and also within our guided pathways working on making sure that we're offering the right courses in the sequence of each program so that students can complete the courses that they need to be able to finish on time. On our student services side, we've also made many changes. One of the biggest is also our advising area. So we had a task force that looked at best practices in advising and implemented many changes. Some of those are that we're now assigning advisors by pathway. We used to do an alphabetical split, and so this allows for the advisors to be more knowledgeable in their area and not have to have quite the breadth of information across the institution. Our advisors work really hard when they meet with their students to plan the students to completion from the beginning so that the students know from the time they get to COM what they can expect for their whole course of time while they're there. They also do targeted contacts more often now with students, so that when the students are nearing completion, when they're hitting those milestones of 30 and 45 hours, that they are getting some contact and making sure that they know what to expect next and that they're staying on track. We also have a Minority Men for Excellence program that started in 2016 as a response to the nationwide statistics that those students usually have a traditionally lower success rates. It started kind of small, but it's grown each year, and it's showing some promise among those guys. So they get academic support, leadership development, community engagement, mentoring. They get progress reports from their instructors on a regular basis that are provided to the program coordinator for that. And the data shows that the participants have a higher GPA and a higher retention rate than the non-participating minority males. Our financial aid department has also undergone some structural changes. We added a financial aid literacy program and educator. So that group conducts workshops just on general financial literacy, but also completing the FAFSA. If students are flagged for verification and are required to provide any more documentation, they walk them through that process and help to make sure that they're aware of what they need to turn in and that they get their transcripts and diplomas in. They also do outreach to the students who are on financial aid warning, so that when they're at risk of losing their financial aid, they can get them connected with the resources that they need to make sure that they meet their academic requirements so that they don't lose financial aid. And then finally, we're in year 4 of a 5-year Title V grant. So the main goals of our Title V grant were increasing our graduation rate, our financial aid applications, and our Pell awarded. So that gave us some additional funding that we could use to support many of these initiatives, including adding some of those staff members and some of the programs, and also monitoring the data that goes along with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right, next we have Lee College. We have Veronique Tran, who's going to be presenting to us, VP of Instruction. And their top improvement areas for the year are completion. They were up 54% in their overall completions over the last 2 years. Their African American completions are up 82%. And their economically disadvantaged completions are up 75%. So please join me in congratulating and welcoming Veronique.
Thank you. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to share with you some strategies. I think there's no, one recipe for the secret sauce for this, but hopefully some of what I'm sharing will be some aha moments for you and some things that you could take back. So Lee College has been in the top 150 community colleges for the Aspen Prize for the last 5 years in a row. We're achieving the Dream Leader College of Distinction, and also we received the Advancing Diversity Award from AACC. So I think this work is accumulation of all of these efforts over the years. Just to give you an idea of our demographics, we are a Hispanic serving institution, so 43% of our students are Hispanic, and then we also have 14% of our students African American. So in looking at our completion numbers and some possible strategies, one I think that made a real difference is in our registrar's office. He streamlined processes, but also had this ingenious idea of doing automatic credential awarding. So our students have been taking these mix of classes, right? It turns out that the classes that they've taken actually meet the requirements for a certificate or awarding of an associate's degree sometimes. So that's something that you can take a look at, and then so the students would get an email notifying them, congratulations, you already achieved the credentials for an associate's degree or a certificate, and you can participate in our graduation ceremonies and so forth. So that, I think, had a tremendous impact. Of course, once we did that overall, in the next few years, we're not going to have that bump, right? So, but that did give us that increase. So they were just lurking there, and we were able to capture them. In our advising, just as was mentioned, our advising area has reorganized into caseloads. We also implemented early alert, which has been very effective. We have data that shows that at the time of the students that were referred to early alert by their professors, they're, this high peak of Fs, and then after the early alerts were resolved and referenced and taken care of, the students were taken care of, you see this redistribution of that peak of F to ABCs and withdrawals. So had they not had the early alerts, we would have that peak F and non-completion. So I think that was very helpful as well. Incorporating those stackable certificates, also the reverse articulations with our university partners and making sure that that is happening as our students transfer. If they haven't completed, we then get the credit for those associate's degrees. Our Lee College Foundation celebrated its 50th year last year. We have a $12.7 million endowment, which allows us to award over $500,000 in scholarships. And so I think that makes a huge difference for our students, especially the economically disadvantaged. And we have different types of scholarships, from departmental to textbook scholarships to student success scholarships. And then looking at the students that are maybe 6 hours away from completing their degrees and offering them a completion scholarship. So these are all other strategies that could help students. Then looking at our specific populations of the African American economically disadvantaged numbers, we wanted to highlight a few special programs that we have. Of course, we have the Huntsville prison program with the TDCJ, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where those are our male incarcerated students, many of who are African American students, and as our academic dean there says that, we have very high completion numbers because there are no distractions, for those students. So then in terms of student activities, we have many different activities that keeps our students on campus. We have our Division I men's basketball and women's volleyball, intramurals, different activities that now targeting especially minority male populations. We just had a cool event of the Man Cave Monday, for example, and celebrating various kind of minority population events and throughout the various months, Black History, Women's History, Hispanic Heritage. We also have these that have been in existence for quite a while, these Education Access and Completion Committees, which is a combination of our campus folks as well as members of the community looking at especially specifically Hispanic and Black populations and seeing what we can do to help those students. We belong to the Men of Color Consortium, which is out of the UT Austin. And we've also been able to leverage grant funding for many of these special programs. So we have the HSI STEM grant. We're on our second HSI STEM grant. And that focus of the current one is on all male students and has allowed us to start peer mentoring. We also have I'm sorry, that's the Title V grant, sorry. The HSI STEM grant focuses on Hispanic low-income students, and there we're able to support our Puente program, start a STEM hub, which is our tutoring space, supplemental instruction, pilot a pre-engineering program that takes students from dual credit to our associate's degree to bachelor's degree in partnership with Lamar University. And we also received the First in the World grant that allowed us to implement our weekend college program, which was recognized as a bellwether finalist last year. So hopefully some of these ideas will you might be able to try some of these at your institution, and I'm available to answer questions and provide more information if you'd like.
Great job. I really am excited that you mentioned Otto Awarding. This is something that I'm interested in, and I'm working on, in partnership with El Paso Community College and UTEP, doing a how-to guide on Otto Awarding, because what a lot of folks are doing Otto Awarding, and it's auto from the student perspective because it's happening kind of for them, but may not be fully automated from your perspective, and so that's where we want to help people get to full automation so that it's not a staff of 6 reviewing things, and reverse transfer is actually the same mechanism. So if we can kind of enhance the automation, we think that that can really be a boost, so a step that maybe we could take across the state to really be doing that at a high level. So I'll share that when that is ready. It's close. Okay, and then last on this panel, we'll be celebrating Texas Southmost College. Their increases were in the areas, or top improvements were in the area of economically disadvantaged completions, up 25%. Their male completions, you'll notice they're the only one that had the male completions at 57% increase, and their 3-year graduation rate has also increased 9 percentage points over this last 2 years. So we have Dr. Jesus Roberto Rodriguez, the president, and Oscar Hernandez in the institutional research and compliance area to come share with us. So congratulations to Texas Southern.
All right. Thank you. And you're going to hear some of the same things that you're doing. But I got to tell you, it really takes a collaborative effort. It really takes a comprehensive effort, not only from our staff, but we got the Board of Trustees, the foundations, our faculty, our staffs, and students to try to make this work. And I worked through the presentation pretty quickly. When we look at the head counts, all students enrolled, you look at all 50 community colleges, they grew at a 3.6% rate. Then we looked at the medium colleges, and on average between 6,000 to 11,000. We're at the lower end. We're about 7,000 students. Those community colleges grew at a 2.6% rate. And when we take those as our base and compare to our growth, which is a 40.9% growth, that's an exponential growth. Now, I know the troops feel tired, and when I show these numbers, I tell them that's why. Now, when I'm a visual learner, so I try to simplify a lot of stuff so I can explain it quickly. You look at the 50 Texas colleges, the 22 medium colleges, we're at 50.9%. A lot of people say, well, you have a lot of growth in your dual credit like most other colleges. Well, yes, but if you just look at our on-campus enrollment at an 8.6%, that more than doubles the enrollment of 50 community colleges, and that's, or the industry itself, or the medium colleges. We're growing just on our on-campus enrollment, again, more than doubles the all 50 Texas colleges all enrollments and more than triples the 22 medium colleges. So I know we're heading the right direction. When we look at degrees and certificates awarded, you see the growth. It's just from last year to this year, or from the 17th to the 18th, it's a 26% increase. But I want to call your attention to certificates. The certificate 1 grew exponentially. One of the things that we're trying to do is the alignment of programs, stackable credentials. You see the associate's degree increasing slightly, but the certificate 1 increased exponentially. And we can see that a lot of them are getting their certificates to get into workforce, and they can always come back and pick up where they left off. So one of the things that we're doing is that aligning our programs and making them stackable. Next, when you look at economically disadvantaged, you see that growth. If we go back, out of the 724 total degrees that were offered, those 600, they represent about an 83%. 83% of our graduates are economically disadvantaged. When you look at our completion rate when it comes to the male completion, even from the prior year in the graph, it's a 21% increase. But again, you look at their certificates, that's where we're seeing a spike in. So a lot of folks are coming in to try to get that short-term training, to get that JOB that will lead to a career, then they come back and pick up where they left off. And that's a whole educational training to our advisors and our recruiters. It's not just a pathway to a university. It is a pathway, not the pathway. And we always mention that to them. Now, when we compare ourselves as a 3-year graduation, you see that our numbers as a 9% increase, 9 points. And I say, okay, but how do we compare to the state? When we look at that, that's how we're comparing. You see a big shift. Again, we're really changing the culture of the college, and the culture is getting involved with the foundation, getting involved with the Board of Trustees, getting involved with the faculty, staff, students. We have pizza with the president, breakfast with the president. We have over 350 examples. It's about engagement. So last year we had over 350 activities within the college. It's a commuter college, but it doesn't feel like a commuter college. We had about 14,000 students participate in these activities. We listened to their feedback, what they want, what we can do to engage them a little bit more. And those are top of the initiatives that we are doing. And a lot of things that we mentioned in the past, which are the guided pathways to completion, making sure that they do select the major. They can even have a double major, a certificate and an associate's degree. Those are the things that we're doing. Same thing with the development of educational core requisites. Get the highest developmental math and tied to their college algebra, and our reading and writing tied to the Comp 1. We really make a strong effort that if you're a full-time student, you can complete your associate's degree in 2 years. So our schedule does fit a 30 hours per year, a 15-15 or a 12-12 and 6 setup. We start in the fall. We also replicate it in the spring. We're trying to align to service not only our full-time students, but also our part-time students on that one. We're mapping the sequencing of courses that align to our certificates, that align to associate's degrees. Those are things that we're doing. We have several activities within the campus. Again, it's about engagement with them. And what we're trying to do is create an environment that is welcoming, and it provides a sense of belonging, not only to our students, but our community. We always say we are a community college. We're here to support community events. I keep telling them, guess what? This is your country club. When you come here, you're going to have a great time. You got a rec center, you got a library. So they feel welcome. We've got support mechanisms and wraparound services. So it's a cultural change. It's an engagement from everyone, from the very top, from board trustees, all the way down to the administration staff, students, and faculty on that one. Turn over to my colleague.
The only area that I want to talk a little bit more about it is the program of study review that we did back in 2015-16 that really helped our part-time students, our non-traditional students, because what we were able to identify was that many of the prerequisites and co-requisites that we had at that time were actually blocking our students from continuing, especially our part-time students. So basically what was happening, students were coming in the fall, wanting to take 6 hours, and then they couldn't continue in the spring because of the number of prerequisites and hidden prerequisites that we had in our courses. So working with our faculty, we were able to identify really dig into the prerequisites and identify which prerequisites were actually required for our students before they could continue to the next level. And that really, I think, had a big impact in our certificate level ones.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I want you to take 5 minutes with your peer group, turn around, turn to your person next to you, and the question I want you to think about is, what stuck out to you from these presentations? So we just heard 4 rapid-fire presentations. Is there anything else you'd like to learn from these folks, or the top improvers in your peer group or others? So take a couple of minutes. What stuck out to you? Is there anything else you'd like to learn? All right, go ahead and share your final thoughts. We're going to move to the next set of panels in just a second. But I do want to take a moment to invite Dr. Julie Eklund, Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Planning, to come up. She wanted to say a quick hello and congratulations as well.
Yes, I apologize that I was not here this morning for the welcome, so I will welcome you all now. It's wonderful to see such a large group and to hear all of the interaction. I want to say congratulations to all of our improvers, and those were wonderful presentations. I really like the idea of using the accountability to take a look and see who's doing something new and different, who's really moved that needle, and what's going on there. It really can tell us a lot, and I encourage everyone to use that opportunity to comment in the accountability system. You know, brag about what you're doing. Let us know what the numbers mean. We really do value that, and I know more and more people are using this system, so it's really helpful to have that. So again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for being part of our accountability system. It's more than just a website. It's people making a difference, but using that very helpful information to understand what you're doing, what others are doing, and to connect with each other. So I hope you have an opportunity to do a lot of connecting today, and I thank you again very much for being here. We did have, I think it was about 40 bills that were heard between the House and the Senate last night, and I didn't get home till after 9, and I missed dinner. It was a very long evening, so I set my alarm a little later this morning. But there's actually a lot going on in terms of bills around transfer, dual credit. If you've looked, there's a lot of interest and activity. So hopefully we'll get some good bills that are passed through, and we'll have even more support for student success across the state. But again, thank you for coming, and I'll be around if you have any questions or want to speak to me while I'm here. And I'm going to hand it back to Jenna. Thank you.
All right, we are going to move right into the next set of presentations. We're going to be focused on, the next group is going to be on our graduation rate improvers, top improvers. So we have 3 institutions: Amarillo College, Texarkana College, and Texas State Technical College West Texas, who are going to be joining us in the next session. So, okay, here we are. And so first I'd like to welcome Tamara Clunes, Vice President of Academic Affairs. She's going to be talking about the factors going into their 12 percentage point increase in their 3-year graduation rate. They were also a top improver for economically disadvantaged students. And the one I really wanted to make sure you saw is that field of study, that they had field of study completions at 17% relative to their associate degrees for this year. So welcome and congratulations. Please,
So I appreciate the opportunity to share what Amarillo College is doing in this area. We are trying to change our region for the better. Everything is about reimagining, being disruptive, and challenging ourselves to be better for our students. And our No Excuses 2020 plan is all about the student. So our theory of change is simple. It's about removing a life barrier for students in an accelerated environment through a deep culture of caring. And I know that you heard, and if you haven't seen our president, this is deeply important to him, and he has changed our culture and is changing our region for the better around this issue of caring. I do believe that our theory of change around removing a life barrier is deeply contributing to the change in our economically disadvantaged completion areas. It's no secret about our deep approach to poverty and eradicating that for our students. In our culture of caring, that accelerated learning environment, a deep use of deep review of data. It's constant, it's not anecdotal, and I often say that our IR director has taken the fun out of the anecdote. You know, we used to come to meetings and we'll put my anecdote on the table and I'll raise you 2 anecdotes, right? And the person who was the most powerful and compelling in their anecdote got the new program or the money, and that's not the case anymore. It really is around what's going on at our college. You would not believe just how many meetings we spend in looking at data. We have a predictive risk model that we think is really helping us. We're still trying to break the model to move even more students through. But students are not going to be hungry on our campus if we can help it. They're going to not have to live in their car. We have emergency aid that is truly emergency, where we can cut a check within the 24 hours or less for the student, and or pay the vendor depending on what the need is for the students. Leveraging our automotive program to repair cars for students, and just many different things that we're trying to do to bring that to life for them. So I really attribute that. In the accelerated learning system, DevEd transformation, our economically disadvantaged students are in developmental education, and we're continuing to move that needle. We've removed all DevEd course prerequisites, 100% co-requisites starting in the fall, and so I'm really excited about seeing College of the Mainland. I know that we're going in the right direction. This is Maria. This is who we are here for. She is the student that we're here to serve. She's the prototype of our student. And when we can remove the life barriers for her, she is completing at higher levels, and our Hispanic student completion rates are up. We are about 80% 8-week courses, so we do believe that that's affecting our graduation rate, as well as just accelerating the students through. But that transfer focus is what I believe is really about our focus for the field of study, and I will spend the rest of my time talking about this. So at Amarillo College, when I first started, we didn't talk to our regional partners, okay? West Texas was there, but they weren't a part of our world. And now we're so joined together. Our two presidents are so locked at the hip. I'm like, okay, you guys are married now. But it's in a really, really great way. Just collaborating across from the Common Reader. We're taking our students on a co-trip to Poland. Both of our presidents are traveling with the students. And I say that to show just how much we're partnering and working together. But when it comes to the field of study completions, I have to say that our registrar is amazing. We've been doing the automatic awarding of credentials for a while, but she's also doing and mining deeply for field of study completions, as well as the fact that when we say that West Texas A&M, looking at our data, 60% of our students transfer. They're our #1 transfer partner. Texas Tech is second, and UT Arlington is third. We are not messing around anymore. It's about destination WT. It's about making sure that our students are thinking about transfer from the beginning. Yes, we used to get the emails, okay, West Texas is going to be on campus tomorrow, but now they have an office. They have access to our student planning. We both use student planning. They have access to ours. They're on campus twice a week. We're trying to get grant money to make the WT advisor full-time on our campus 5 days a week. When a student comes in, they're transfer focused, they go to see the transfer advisor with WT from the very beginning, even as a new student. And we try to make sure that the student can see their progress. We're now sending over transcript information for transfer students to West Texas every semester, so that the student is advised and updated on their transfer with WT every semester. They meet with the transfer advisor. They can see in student planning their progression towards our credential, and then they can see their progression towards the bachelor degree credential with West Texas. So there's these two conversations going on at the same time, and the student never has to leave our campus in order to have those conversations. And the fact that our students are on the WT campus from a student life standpoint, they're seeing themselves at West Texas. I think that our transfer data improvement is only just beginning, just based upon these connections, because this is just barely a year in of us really trying to do this. The other part is really in my area as Vice President of Academic Affairs. We spend a significant amount of time in our curriculum. Very robust curriculum committee. We no longer really have our curriculum committee agenda around just individually what you're doing. Our curriculum committee charges are at the start of the year, and we're all charged with reviewing and doing a certain amount of all college type of curriculum reviews. This past year was developmental education, prerequisites, field of study alignment, but we also challenged ourselves around this issue of, if you look, I love the chart that we received on the field of study, which ones were smaller and there was more overlap. We're starting to question ourselves, and we've been pushing back on, why do we need to have an English associate's degree? Why do we need to have a psychology associate's degree? You know, and if we're going to keep it and we do it on reverse transfer, that's fine, but we're going to send that student on. We're not going to hold that student back. Our culture change has been around the fact that people just wanted to have that associate's degree completion before we sent them on. And we are not doing that anymore. You're going to send the student on to transfer. We'll catch it on the back end. And we've also been able to lower, I was looking back at the history in the almanac, we've reduced our excess hours by almost 9 hours. I'm hopeful that we're going to continue to mine that down, but it's working in that regard. And then we're also partnering with Texas Tech. We're actually now building degree programs together with our STEM Research Center. A student can finish their associate's degree in our horticulture and other ag science programs, and then they can finish the bachelor's degree at Texas Tech online while still staying in Amarillo. They don't have to go to Texas Tech to be able to do that. They can do their research for their bachelor's degree at Texas Tech on our campus in our STEM Research Center and not have to go to Lubbock. And so these are the types of things we're trying to do to be able to foster that piece while still increasing the technical education. Our technical education is up 17%. So this is just the big piece for Amarillo College is transfer and our growth. These two slides show our data in 3-year cohorts, the 2011 cohort and then the 15 cohort. The 17 cohort, 3 years we will have, but just the growth in our transfer rate. We know this is going to be better as the data continues to come in because it's such an intense focus for us. Our growth rate in graduation for first gen and Pell. Again, we know this is going to be increasing. Our president has set an ambitious goal of 70% completion by 2020. We're now at 48% when we were in the teens to begin with, so we're pretty excited about that. And so I think the best is yet to come. I've made copious notes of all the other presentations, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing that. Lots of great advice in there at Amarillo College. So next we have Texarkana College. We have Phyllis Dee, Vice President of Administrative Services, and they did very well in their 3-year graduation rate as well as their 6-year graduation rate. So for their 3-year rate, they've gone up 14 percentage points, and their 6-year graduation rate, they've gone up 21 percentage points over the last 2 years. That's huge, and they also have the highest 3-year graduation rate in the state right now. So kudos. Welcome to Texarkana College.
You know, it seems like everyone has a story, and I think it is important to kind of talk about where we were and what led to some of the systemic changes that Texarkana College underwent. For those of you that may be familiar with the way that state funding has gone through the last several years with regard to higher education, we all know that around 2010, 2011, the funding became less generous. And putting it mildly, and our former administration, not that they were doing anything illegal or anything like that, but they continued to spend as though the funding were the same. And what you see right here in front of you is essentially our financial status at the college. And you see a very, very, very sharp decline there around the 2010-2011 year. To kind of bring it into perspective for you, we were 3 months away from not being able to make payroll. And so the board brought in a new college president who happened to be a CPA, thank goodness, and was able to apply an amazing tourniquet to this immediate problem. And then once we got the finances under control, we started focusing on other areas. One of the big decisions that we made in attempting to find ways to be more fiscally responsible was our ERP system. We were at the time running with a very expensive ERP system, and we were one of the ones that grabbed onto Jen's bar. It was a lot more affordable for us, but in that process of doing our ERP conversion, it really gave us an opportunity to look at a lot of the things that we were doing. To add insult to injury, We also had our on-site 10-year SACS reaffirmation that showed up in 15. So, 13, 14, we really started making a very concerted effort to get ready for those types of things too. And so what you have in front of you is really a buffet, if you will, of a lot of the different things that we did. In fact, it's kind of funny, as we were preparing our QEP for the reaffirmation, our advisor said, whoa, y'all are trying to do too many things. You won't know what caused the effect or something. We're like, we don't care. We don't care what was responsible. We just want to make a difference. And so what you see right here are some of the, and I'm not going to go into specifics on all of these, but between our Achieving the Dream coaches, things that we did in enrollment services, such as, the new ERP system, we did a redesign of the way that we were trying to deliver our enrollment and financial aid services, kind of doing that one-stop shop type thing more convenient for the students. But the real impact, I really think, came from that center column, and that's with the QEP. I know in attending these meetings, I still kind of feel like a neophyte in these groups. I've been at the college now for 7 years, and I know I still have a lot to learn, but one of the things I've listened to at the variety of meetings is faculty advising is a hard sell. And it is. But we were really, y'all saw it, we were at a point where there was nowhere to go but up. And I think sometimes that creates a lot of collegiality with everyone. It's not, it's your responsibility or their responsibility. It became ours. And our faculty bought into advising. And at first, we let it be through voluntary basis. Our enrollment services team put them through training and that type of thing. And Mike from Dallas, I'm not sure where you went, you're going to love this one. We now have all of our faculty that are involved in the advising process. In fact, our enrollment services advisors only advise the FTICs. Once you get through that first semester, you're then assigned to a faculty advisor. And it's not just faculty. We've got a couple of our administrators doing this, some of our counselors and so forth. So we've got a lot of people involved. We have less than a 30-to-1 ratio for our advisee to staff. And that's just our on-campus, with our on-campus folks. So it's pretty amazing. But we really think that's made a huge difference, along with the early alerts and so forth. The student success, I was telling one of my colleagues, I was sitting beside over here, we really kind of rebranded our library to the academic commons area, and it's really now a hub of student services, from counseling to tutoring, student support services. Our TRIO programs are located there. A lot of different things made available to the students in one area, and so we offer a lot of those supports there. And then, of course, the pathways. We've heard a lot of people talk about that. This is one of the coolest things ever. When you talk about pathways, our IT team put this together. And it's a way that our students, from the very beginning of their process with Texarkana College, you can come in, you click on this, you create your avatar, you do all this cool stuff, and it takes you from step one to doing your Apply Texas to the FAFSA, all the way through semester by semester to applying for graduation, picking out your cap and gown kind of thing. And so it's a neat way for the students to visually take themselves through that completion process. And if you want to see it kind of in action, I did put the URL down there at the bottom. It's texarkanacollege.edu/current-students. And it's fun. I've gone in and made my little avatar. It's really very cool. Being the statistician that I am, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road when you see the impact. And as I said a while ago, we really don't care which of those things I've talked about is responsible for making these differences. We just care that it happened. Over on the left, you see a multi-year analysis of how our graduation rates have looked for the 3-year, the 4-year, the 6-year. And toward the bottom, so remember the tourniquet needed to be applied financially around the 2011 time. And so if you start paying attention to where those cohorts follow, I've got them color-coded. And you can see for our 3-year accountability, the growth, we were in the low, it was low. Not even going to try to categorize it, to where this most recent year, we did get to celebrate a 45.8% 3-year completion rate, which is amazing. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor that to their 4-year, to their 6-year. You can see the gold color, how we did on our 4-year. The 6-year is what's really profound. We did see a marked improvement in that area with our most recent graduation rate, and I believe that's the 2012 cohort. Prior to that, just to give you some perspective, so we were at 46.3%, which was, I think, the 4th when you rank that among our college systems in Texas. The year before that, we were 42nd. The year before that, we were 45th in the state. That 20.6 that you see on 2015, that 6-year cohort group ranked 50th. Guess how many community colleges are in the state of Texas? So it's really evident when you look at the longitudinal analysis of the performance of our students and the commit to complete that our college has undergone, whether it be the faculty advising, whether it be the pathways, the academic commons. There's a lot of things that have been put in place that we're just grateful that we're getting to celebrate our students seeing these tremendous successes. Again, being the statistician, I always like that affirmation, and you can see that same trend happening over there with the IPEDS data as well. And so we don't have all the answers. I don't know that we have any of the answers, but we have certainly seen a tremendous difference that it's made with the advising, those relationships that are established with the students, the early alert, reaching out to those students, all of the different things, paying attention to the data. And I know anyone at our institution would be happy to visit if any of you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations. And 30-to-1, that is an impressive ratio. That's thank you for sharing that. And then the last presentation, we'll be welcoming Texas State Technical College, West Texas. We have Lance Eastman with us today, Senior Vice President of Student Learning, and their 3-year graduation rate is up 15 percentage points over the last couple of years. So welcome to Lance, and congratulations to TSTC West Texas.
Thank you, everyone. It's a privilege to be here. I'm very excited to present. We have a lot of great things happening at TSTC. And for some background, about 4 years ago, each of the TSTC campuses used to be independently managed. And it was decided that it was decided that all the campuses would fall under a single umbrella. And so there was a lot of changes that happened about 4 years ago. One of the things that influenced some of the decisions made at TSTC was the book called The Advantage. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a Patrick Lencioni book, and it talks a lot about organizational health. And when you're combining all these different institutions together and looking at each program, and many of the institutions had the same program at different locations, how do you determine which program is healthy or not? And so there was a team that got together and a lot of data, and I'm a huge fan of data, and so when I see this type of information presented, it gets me excited, because I'm a firm believer that there's no improvement that can be made without having a data point to start with. So I'm going to share with you here, and I hope this is the right button. And it's not. Let's see. All right, how about that? So this right here is a vitality scorecard, and each and every program at our school has this. And so around 3 years ago, this was presented to each and every program, and there's a lot of factors on here. And if you notice in the upper left-hand corner, there's a number that says 1.92. Every program is compared against that same number. And if we're on a scale of 1 to 4, this program's falling about in the middle. Now, this right here is our emergency services program, and I've actually clicked, and there's different locations on here that you can click and you can get more data. I've clicked on a location, and you can see that for 2016 they had 77 students in this particular program. In 2017 it went to 109, and then in 2018 it went to 115, just for that specific program in West Texas. Now, when I went and queried the programs, you know, we got contacted by the co-board and said, we'd like you to present. I went and queried a couple different programs, and I asked them, what do you think caused the change in your graduation rate? And the faculty having the data was a big point. Them knowing how many students were graduating was very important. All of this information is now presented on a regular basis to the faculty. And something else that we've implemented just a year ago, and it's been hugely successful at our school, is the 4 disciplines of execution. It's a simple system, and I'm going to show you an image here. It puts a lot of onus on the faculty. And so as leadership, we went to the faculty and said, we need to know what you are going to do, what you specifically are going to do in order to increase your persistence. And persistence for us is students returning after a single semester, and increase your enrollment. So the 4 disciplines of execution, the first thing you need to do is determine what is the most wildly important. That was it. The second thing is every week they had to report to their department chair, and it's a very short meeting, it's not a long-lasting meeting. Every week they had to report to their department chair what they did specifically to help increase enrollment or persistence. And there was an end goal. And so every week they're trying to move the needle. The third thing with the 4 disciplines is you have to have a scoreboard. And it may be kind of hard to see in this image. Or right here. Every department came up with their own scoreboard that they were going to post that everyone in the department could see the needle move. And so everyone working together, and some of them, they had the faculty individually. They are going to make calls to industry, or if students are not maintaining a certain level of progress, they're going to contact that student every week. They determined what they were going to do, which gave them ownership, and they wanted to have success in what they were going to do. The 4 disciplines, one is determine what's wildly important. Second, have a weekly meeting to have accountability, have a scoreboard, and then the last thing was a cadence of accountability, making sure that everyone was following through on what they were going to do. We had great success in a lot of different areas implementing the 4 disciplines of execution. So the advantage, that book was basically the how we were going to do it. We determined that with that scorecard, the program vitality, and then the 4 disciplines of execution gave some ownership to each of the different faculty to see how they were going to meet those goals. There's a lot of other factors that go into why our graduation rate could be up. And I know as a small institution, our percentage is insignificant in comparison to some of the schools here, but we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish with these 2 systems. So I'll leave that with you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take the next 5+ minutes to go ahead and do another discussion round. So people next to you, people behind you, with your peer group. What I'd love for you to think about is, do you use peer group comparisons? Do you do them at your own institution? And how do you think about leveraging data to make improvement benchmarks? Do you do that? How do you do that? So share with your peers. I want you to think about, do you do peer group comparisons? How do you leverage data to think about benchmark improvements? And then if you have time, go ahead and think about implementation with fields of study. So 5-10 minutes.